Now, we continue to share insights from Michael Easter's book, Scarcity Brain. Previously, we discussed the scarcity loop. In this segment, we'll talk about the areas where the scarcity loop has the most impact in daily life, including drugs, food, shopping, and information. These things are harmful, not because of their ingredients, but because of the concentration of those ingredients. They are products of modern technology. Understanding this will redefine what we consider drugs. Drugs are not magical substances that fell from the sky. Compounds like cocaine, amphetamines, opioids, nicotine, and alcohol all come from nature and have been used by animals and humans for a long time. Plants evolved these psychoactive compounds to defend against insects. For instance, a leaf containing amphetamine would make insects hyperactive and easily spotted by predators. Opioids and alcohol slow down insects, reducing their reproduction. Though humans seem far removed from insects, we share at least 60% of our genes with them and have receptors for these psychoactive compounds. Our resistance is much stronger than that of insects. We found that the minor troubles these compounds caused could be beneficial. Cocaine comes from the leaves of the coca plant. Chewing these leaves temporarily suppresses hunger and boosts endurance and attention. Opium, derived from poppies, has excellent pain-relieving properties. Tobacco helps with focus and also eliminates stomach parasites and infections. Some fruits, when ripe and fermented, produce alcohol that can aid digestion and increase appetite. Cannabis can treat certain illnesses, and psychedelics have therapeutic effects and play significant roles in religious rituals by offering transcendental experiences. Imagine a hunter-gatherer who needs to explore, fight wild animals, endure pain, and forage in harsh conditions. Using some herbs to feel better mentally doesn't seem wrong. Note that these psychoactive compounds are present in very low concentrations in natural plants. Eating wild fermented fruit won't make you an alcoholic because the alcohol content is too low. It's civilization's advancements, such as distillation, that concentrated alcohol and turned it into a social problem. We extracted cocaine from coca leaves and turned it into high-purity powder. We created methamphetamine, heroin, cigarettes, and more. All industrialized, concentrated versions of natural compounds. They bring pleasure and release dopamine thousands of times more than their natural counterparts. When natural compounds are concentrated, they become drugs. It is well known that the U.S. has a serious problem with painkiller abuse, especially opioid drugs like fentanyl. Reading Easter's book, I learned that some Middle Eastern countries also have issues with drug abuse, particularly with a drug called Captagon. Captagon was invented by a German company in 1961 to treat ADHD in children and depression in adults, enhancing focus and excitement. In Middle Eastern countries, drugs and even alcohol are banned due to religious reasons. But Captagon, being a prescription drug, doesn't seem to violate these rules. Initially, people used it to stay alert, and it gradually became popular. By 2014, ISIS was giving Captagon to its soldiers to boost strength and endurance, especially among suicide bombers. Now, Captagon is called the jihad drug by Western media. However, Iraqi government soldiers and civilians also use Captagon. People consider it like coffee, keeping them awake and easing the trauma of war. Little do they know that high concentrations lead to overuse, resulting in addiction, without the initial benefits, leaving only craving. Drug addiction is a learned behavior. People don't become addicts just by trying a drug once. There are usually other reasons, such as escaping reality, pain relief, or medical treatment, that initially bring some benefit. This benefit is the first step in the scarcity loop, or opportunity. The difficulty of obtaining the drug, and the uncertainty of its effects, form the second step. Add industrial concentration, for cheap repeatability, and the scarcity loop becomes a closed cycle, making it hard to break free. In a sense, those drugs were originally food. And modern food, in a sense, is also a drug. As mentioned before, cardiovascular disease is the leading killer in modern health. The primary cause of cardiovascular disease is obesity, which is mainly due to overeating. In the early 20th century, heart disease was not a common cause of death in the U.S. Before the 1940s, Americans didn't even think about dieting. The government often encouraged people to eat more. When someone was ill, people would say they needed more nutrition. But from the 1970s onwards, food became abundant. No one in developed countries suffered from malnutrition anymore, and people grew taller, but obesity and cardiovascular diseases also became prevalent. It's not that modern food is toxic. We oppose processed food and advocate for natural food, not because processed food contains harmful ingredients. Carbohydrates and fats themselves are not the problem. The only issue with processed food is that it's too delicious. Processed food uses large-scale industrial production to concentrate nutrition and flavor. In the past, food had an essential characteristic. It wasn't tasty. Most people ate vegetarian diets most of the time, with meat being a rare treat. In the hunter-gatherer era, even if you ate meat, wild animals constantly running around meant their meat had little fat. Because it was rare, it was precious. Evolution made us crave high-calorie, high-fat food. Nutritious equals delicious. In the agricultural society, domesticated animals didn't run around all the time, making fatty meat common. But our tastes didn't change, so the food industry specializes in making delicious foods, i.e., high-fat, high-sugar, and high-salt foods. This brings two problems. One is the excessive concentration of calories. Natural food is not high in calories. Easter provides data, such as a self-baked potato, having only 50 calories per 2 ounces, 56 grams. But the same amount of tasty, industrially processed potato chips has 360 calories. I found 2 comparison pictures online for you to see. A cup of bulletproof coffee has 345 calories. A breakfast of whole grain bread, vegetables, 2 eggs, and a cup of black coffee also has 345 calories. A typical McDonald's meal has 1,600 calories. If you choose natural food, those 1,600 calories would last you all day. Fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, and staple food. The second problem with processed food is that it makes you eat too quickly. The entire snack industry is designed to make people eat more, wanting to eat more after eating, feeling unsatisfied, and falling into the scarcity loop. We call processed food junk food, but it's not junk. It's actually a concentration of ordinary nutrition. Its only crime is being too delicious. However, no matter how delicious food is, there's always a limit to how full you can get. Some activities, however, have no such limit. For example, shopping. Many think ancient people were not materialistic, but that's not true. In a scarcity environment, you should grab any good thing you find. Of course, scarcity means you can't gather much, no matter how hard you try. Today is different. Industrialization has made everything cheap. The average American owns 107 pieces of clothing, 12% of which are never worn, 21% are considered unwearable, 57% don't look good, and only 10% are regularly worn. So, every year, each person buys 37 more pieces of clothing. Storing and handling unused items at home has become a highly developed industry. 6% of Americans have compulsive buying disorder. Credit cards already made spending money virtual enough, but then Amazon made online shopping even easier, with just a click. Faced with Temu and live streaming sales, Americans are still amazed. The entire shopping experience is designed as a more concentrated scarcity loop. See and want to buy and get rewarded, and want to buy again after buying. There's no fullness biological mechanism to tell you that you've overconsumed. You'll either fill your room or spend all your money. Information, too, has no sense of satiety. In the hunter-gatherer era, there was usually nothing new. To get information, you had to go yourself. Information was precious. Today, it's estimated that we receive more information in a day than a 15th century person did in their lifetime. But most of the information we receive is useless. Now, information is mainly for consumption, not decision-making. Distant murders or celebrity gossip have nothing to do with you, but attention merchants feed these to your attention. You are not their customer. The advertisers are the customers. You are the product. Statistics show that the average person spends 11 to 13 hours a day consuming information through video or audio, with 40% of that information not coming from mainstream media, but user-generated content. The secret to attracting attention is also high concentration. The best videos are short, and the best short videos are compilations. I recently watched a Social Death Moments compilation that made me laugh every 3 seconds, guaranteeing 10 laughs in 30 seconds. Normal life doesn't have this effect. This is mental processed food, no wonder some consider it a drug. I don't think consuming information is fatal, but it does have some bad effects. The book cites a study showing that people who watched the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing on TV at home experienced more psychological trauma than those who were there running. That's the effect of concentration. Many believe that natural herbal medicines are always good and chemically synthesized drugs are bad, but this is baseless. In fact, herbal medicines often contain toxic components, while synthetic drugs are concentrated effective ingredients with the best therapeutic effects. So concentration doesn't mean bad. Good things in high doses can bring significant harm and lose their benefits. Drugs, processed food, shopping, information, including slot machines and pornography, are all life-derived things at higher concentrations. Our scarcity brains are not adapted to such high concentrations. But I still want to say 2 things. First, modern life requires concentration. We are not well suited to high concentrations, but we're even less suited to the low concentration life of the past. Occasionally eating McDonald's is fine, short videos are efficient entertainment, and buying more clothes is a legitimate need. Concentration is a modern benefit. We will continue to provide high-concentration knowledge services, or else, what would you do with that time? Second, and more importantly, the scarcity loop can be overcome. Not everyone gets addicted, even to drugs. We'll discuss some natural ways to break the loop. That's today's content. In the next part, we'll talk about how to break the loop.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.